Are you craving sweet treats without the compromise? From creamy cheesecake to melt-in-your-mouth cheesecake and fruit-topped shortcake, these recipes are gluten-free, dairy-free, egg-free, and 100% dreamy. First, we'll need to preheat the oven to 425. Now we need one 14-ounce can of pumpkin. I like to use Libby's brand or my home-cooked. You can also use home-cooked butternut squash, because they're a little bit more manageable in size than a whole pumpkin. 1 can of full-fat coconut milk. I'm using the brand Roy D. 3/4 cup of brown sugar. I'm packing each 1/4 cup. 1/4 teaspoon salt, 1/4 teaspoon ground cloves, 1½ teaspoons of cinnamon, and 2 tablespoons of egg replacer powder. You can use Energy Egg Replacer brand or my recipe. I'll link it above. Now we whisk all the ingredients together. That smells so good. Pour the pumpkin pie filling into the prepared pie crust. I will link my pie crust recipe so that you can access that as well. Because pumpkin pie bakes for so long, we'll need to protect the crust edges from burning with foil. Cut a square piece of foil and then fold it in quarters. Measure the radius of the pie against the foil and then cut out to the center. Less is better. You can always cut more if it's a little bit too small in the center. Unfold the foil and then cover the crust, trying not to let the foil touch the filling. Now you'll put the pie in the oven at 425 for 15 minutes. And then turn the temperature down to 350 and bake for an additional 45 minutes. Now is the moment we all have been waiting for. Here's the pumpkin pie. Woo! The pumpkin pie needs to chill at least 12 hours or overnight before eating. My favorite way to eat this pumpkin pie is with my easy coconut whip topping, which I'll link above and in the description. Enjoy! Freely eat! First off, we're going to get the chocolate melting. Turn a double boiler onto high heat. Then measure out 10½ ounces of chocolate chips. While the chocolate chips are melting, we will make the crust. Begin by scraping the cream from 16 Oreos. This is about half of a box. While I was preparing to make this video, I thought I had lost my recipe. I was super bummed because I love this chocolate cheesecake. And I was assuming that my daughter, who's 20 months, must have gotten a hold of it and decided that it was some great drawing paper, and then like crumpled it up, and I thought that it was just drawing paper and I threw it away. But turns out when I was looking through my recipe binder the second time, there it was. And it was pretty crazy because the first time I looked, it was nowhere to be seen inside that recipe folder. Have you had that happen before? Now, I don't know if I just missed that page or if this was a God thing, because I was praying for that recipe. I'm sure you guys have had experiences like that too, where something you just can't find it, and then it shows up in somewhere that you know you've looked before. So tell me in the comments, what was it that you were looking for and how did it turn up for you? Next ingredient is some butter. We want about 3.5 tablespoons. I love how this has the markings on it, so we know that's about here. Okay. And now we want just a tiny little bit of salt, 1/4 teaspoon. And you can go shy on this, 1/8 teaspoon is fine too. It depends if you're using salted or unsalted butter. This butter is salted, so I used a little less, but if you're using unsalted butter, you can use a full 1/4 teaspoon. All right, now let's blend it up here. All right, there's our beautiful crust. Let's put it in the pan. Here's my ancient springform pan that we're gonna be using. I'm just gonna shake it out to get it about even. Then we're just gonna press it down. And when you add the butter for this, you'll wanna make sure that it is baking butter, not the table butter that's like whipped, because that one has extra water added to it. That's why the lower calories. And it will make your crust a total mushy mess instead of a nice, crunchy, delicious crust. I have made that mistake before, so learn from my mistakes. All right, there we go. That is our beautiful little crust. Let's finish the filling. We're gonna take 1/2 package of firm tofu. I just drained the water. Now 1/2 cup of coconut oil, melted. It's really important to melt it before adding it, because if you don't, it will never melt and it will be gritty instead of smooth. I have made this mistake too. I just put it in the microwave for 30 seconds. 1/4 cup of coconut oil, melted. Now we need 1.5 teaspoons of apple cider vinegar. This gives the tang that is normally in cream cheese, which is a typical ingredient in cheesecake. Now 1/2 teaspoon of nutritional yeast and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Now 1 package of silken tofu, drained, and 1/3 cup of maple syrup. 1 teaspoon of lemon juice. 1 teaspoon of vanilla. 1/2 cup of soy milk. And finally, 1 tablespoon of raw carob powder. You can also use 100% cocoa Dutch processed unsweetened cocoa powder. All right, we're finally ready to blend. We'll get this all smooth and then we'll see if our chocolate chips are ready to add. There, that looks pretty smooth. Now let's look at our chocolate chips. Pretty much ready. There are just a few that look like they haven't melted. I'm gonna stir it around and give those a chance to get fully melted. Like the coconut oil, if we don't get these fully melted before adding, there'll be little chunks and it won't be entirely smooth. So fully melting is very important. All right, it looks like we've got some fully melted chocolate chips. Now we're gonna blend this up. All right, there we go. It's ready for our crust. I'm gonna pour it in. Oh my mouth is watering already. I have done this cheesecake with sugar-free chocolate chips. there's a certain kind that I will show you that works very well, and with unsweetened soy milk, and it turns out that it is great. Now we will refrigerate overnight. Don't cheat on this step. I know it is tempting, very tempting, but let it set up fully, otherwise you won't get the consistency. All right, so it has set overnight, and we get to take off this form. Ooh, look at that. There, look at that. Beautiful. All right, let's get started. We're gonna use 1 1/4 cups of gluten-free flour blend. I'm using Bob's Red Mill, the blue bag. Now we need 2/3 cup of sugar. Now 2 teaspoons of baking powder. Sometimes your baking powder can have gluten or corn in them, so if those are your allergies, make sure to check the ingredients, or just make your own using the recipe that I provide in another one of my videos. I'll link it. Now we need 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And I'm going to put in the powder portion of the egg replacer. I'll also link the recipe for this egg replacer, although you can use energy egg replacer. And we're going to do the equivalent of 1 egg, which is 1/2 tablespoon or 1 teaspoon and a half. Okay, now let's combine the flours. Okay, now it's time for the liquids. We're going to add 2/3 cup of milk with 1 teaspoon of vinegar. We're going to allow this to curdle first. So I'm going to measure in my 1 cup measure, or you can use 2/3 cup and then pour it into another container with 1 teaspoon of vinegar. I'm using apple cider vinegar. This is substituting for buttermilk. Now we need 1/4 cup of olive oil and the water portion of our egg, which is 2 tablespoons of water. And now 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Alright, let's see how our buttermilk is doing. Look at that, it is pretty curdled. Now I'm going to combine mostly the liquids. And then gradually stir in the flours until just combined. Now we're going to pour it into our cupcake tin. Lightly oil your cupcake tin. You'll need 9 to 12 compartments oiled lightly, depending upon the size of your cupcake tin. Fill each compartment about 2/3 of the way full. While I'm doing this, could you please like and subscribe? Also, can you comment any recipe that you would like to learn? Anything that maybe you're missing? Thank you. Alright, the oven is up to temperature at 375. Let's go ahead and put the cupcakes in. We're going to bake for 19 minutes. There we go. Alright, let's see if our shortcake is done. There's no gooiness on the rod here, on the wooden stick. So I think we're good to go ahead and take those out. Wow. Beautiful, beautiful. You can see that they're just starting to brown around the edges. and they've risen the cake out of the muffin tin and put it on a cooling rack. This will make it so it doesn't sweat inside of the muffin tin. If you try this recipe, let me know in the comments. How did it go? Do you have any questions? Did you use the recipe for egg replacer that I have on my channel? Or did you use Energy egg replacer? I've tried these with real egg, egg replacer, and mashed banana. And this is my favorite. Alright, the first step is to make our crust. I'm going to be using half a cup of walnuts and 3/4 cup of pecans. You can also use almonds instead of pecans. I've done it that way before. Or you can use pine nuts. I haven't done it that way before, but I think it would work just fine, especially if you have an allergy to tree nuts. Now we're going to take 1.5 cups of medjool dates. Make sure to remove the stem and the seed. Make sure to pack the dates down to get all you can. The next ingredient is 1 cup of puffed millet, but I am using 1 cup of Rice Krispies because I am allergic to millet. If you use Rice Krispies, make sure to get the name brand or check the ingredients because I've found a lot of them have gluten in them. I guess Rice Krispies are cheating a little bit on that whole food aspect. So just do puffed millet for the healthier version. Let's get this thing whisked up. One more ingredient. I forgot to tell you about the carob powder. You can also use raw cocoa powder. This is raw carob powder. We need 1/4 cup plus 2 tablespoons, which is like half of a 1/4 cup, 2 tablespoons, half of a 1/4. If I were using chocolate, I would use this, the Dutch processed unsweetened cocoa powder. Okay, here we go. Alright, there we go. You can see that it's starting to be able to be pressed together, but it is a little bit on the dry side, so I'm just going to add a tiny little bit of water. And this will vary based on how wet or dry your dates are, so blend it first before adding any water. This is a tablespoon. I'm just going to add about half of that for now, and then blend it again. Okay, you can see how this is much easier to press together. So that'll be good for what we want in our crust. Go ahead and pour it into a lined 9x13 dish. You can line your 9x13 dish with parchment paper or a silicone baking sheet. This makes it so the dessert is easy to pull out of the pan and move it to a cutting board after it's frozen. Go ahead and make sure this mixture is evenly spread, especially on the edges, before pushing it down. You can always move it around once you push it down, but it's just a little easier before. Alright, there we go. Beautiful. I'm gonna stick this in the freezer and we can start on our next step. Okay, now for the next step. We need 1.5 cups of dark chocolate. I've also made this with carob chips or chunks. this is the chocolate I'm using today. Now we need 1 1/3 cups of coconut cream. Oftentimes in the store you can find coconut milk, but not coconut cream. If that is the case, just put it in the refrigerator and scoop the creamy part off of the top. I'm starting to be able to see the coconut water in here as well. You can see some more clear part over on the right side. That is the coconut water. We just want the cream, not the water. Okay. And then I have a can of coconut cream here. You can see how thick this coconut cream is. That is really the best. This is Savoy coconut cream. It's easy to find in Asian food stores. And I like this, that the ingredients are just coconut extract and water. Sometimes with coconut milk they'll throw extra things in there. Same with this one, coconut extract and water. 1 1/3. This is also the same kind of coconut cream that I use for my vegan whipped topping, which is super quick and easy. I will link that. We'll just turn this on high and let that all melt together. I like to save the less creamy coconut to use in soups and curries. I will link one above. Meanwhile, I am going to melt some coconut oil in the microwave. We're going to drizzle this on top for a garnish. I've got some pretty hot chocolate here. I'm gonna go ahead and stir it just to make sure it gets melted evenly. By the way, you'll see I tried to get these flowers in like every shot today because I love them. They're from my garden and I've just been really enjoying growing the flowers that I want to grow. This is the first year where I've really focused on flowers in addition to fruits and vegetables. It's keeping on melting. Okay, this is looking great now. You can see how the color is homogeneous and there are no lumps. So let's get out our frozen crust and choose whatever frozen fruit you would like to put in this. I'm using raspberries today. I went ahead and turned off my burner and now I'm going to add 2/3 cup of raspberries to the mousse. These raspberries are from my garden. And I'm just going to evenly distribute those and coat them all. And now we're going to pour it into the crust. I'm going to make this even across the entire crust, separating some of those raspberry pieces. This is going to be so good. And now I'm going to drop some raspberries on the top for a beautiful touch. I'm curious, what are you making this for? Are you just making it for a nice summer dessert, or are you making it for some kind of event? I am curious. Please let me know in the comments below. Also, if there's anything else that you're trying to figure out how to make so that you can eat it even with allergies or whatever dietary considerations that you have, or that someone who you're cooking for has, just let me know what you want to learn how to make and I will do my best to get a recipe for you. Alright, let's stop there. That looks pretty nice and we'll put this back in the freezer, and once it's all frozen we'll get it out and drizzle that coconut on it. Alright, so now we have our frozen chocolate bar. Easy to pick up thanks to the silicone baking sheet or parchment paper. And we are going to transfer this onto our cutting board. Yum. Oh my. There's a piece I have to eat. Okay, and I'm going to cut it in triangles, or rather diamonds and triangles. Now you can either cut off the edge or include the edge in your cut. Ooh, look at all these beautiful little diamonds in the triangle. Having a clean knife helps me make clean cuts. And on this edge, I'm gonna just cut it off. You can do this on the other side too, if you want to have really clean cuts on all your pieces. All right, now I'm gonna put the coconut oil. Wow, it's looking so pretty. Wow. These are so good, you have to try them. So this is 1 pound of strawberries, 1 can of full fat coconut milk. I like this Asian brand, Roy D, because it is thicker than a lot of the American brands. Next we need 1/2 cup of maple syrup and 1 teaspoon. All right, let's give this a blend. That is blended up thoroughly, nice, smooth, and creamy. We're gonna go ahead and transfer this into our pre-chilled ice cream maker. I need to start with 1/2 cup of plant-based butter. I'm using the Country Crock one, which has soy, but no other allergens, and I can have soy. So that's what we'll be using today. There we go. Now we're going to use the brown sugar, 1/3 cup. All right, here's our 1/3 cup of brown sugar. And now we're going to put in 1 egg. Equivalent. I'm using my homemade egg replacer, which I'll show you how to make on another video, and you can also use other brands like Energy egg replacer. In order to reconstitute 1 egg, we'll need 1/2 tablespoon of the mix, the egg replacer, and 2 tablespoons of water. This is the same reconstitution ratio for Energy egg replacer. For this egg replacer, I actually harvested my own potato starch, so you can see a few brown flecks in there from the potato skin. Alright, now I have that 1 egg. And then I need 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla. I'm using Mexican vanilla. So if you want a stronger vanilla flavor, Mexican vanilla often gives that for you. And then you're going to cream these ingredients together. Now it's time for the flour. We need 1 cup of a gluten-free flour blend. I'll be using Bob's Red Mill gluten-free flour blend. This is the blue bag. We also need a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And we're gonna go ahead and stir the salt into the flours and the dry into the creamed mixture. All right. And now we're going to form this into 1-inch balls. Why did I use such a large bowl? Well, I was planning to make granola, but then I realized I didn't have one of the ingredients, so I decided to make cookies instead. Well, the bowl is coming in handy now because I have a place to put my 1-inch balls. So if you're making this, let me know in the comments below what kinds of allergies you have and what you want to be able to eat again. Also, please like and subscribe and click that notification bell, and that will help me to create more content. Now it's time to preheat the oven. Turn it up to 375. Now we're going to chop 3/4 cups of pecans. You can also use pine nuts or walnuts or any other nut for that matter, whatever you prefer and whatever you're not allergic to. Alright, we have our chopped pecans now, and go ahead and roll each of the little balls in the pecans. Then put them on a cookie sheet. You can see my cookie sheet is very well loved. We had a snow once, and because we didn't have sleds, we decided to take our cookie sheets outside and use them as sleds. So, yeah, just enjoy the moments however you can. What is the craziest thing that you have used something from the kitchen to do? Go ahead and comment that below in the comments section. If you get to the end and you still have a little bit of pecan dust left, feel free to go ahead and roll some of your earlier balls in it just to pick up the last little bit. Now, I could certainly devour all of these in one baking, but I am going to savor them. So I'm going to go ahead and freeze a few of them. They freeze very well, and when you get them out of the freezer, you can pop them straight into the oven, no defrosting necessary, and just bake them for about 15 minutes before doing the indentation and the final bake. And you'll see that process in the next little bit. All right, the oven is up to temperature. Here we go. We are going to start by baking for 5 minutes. While it is baking, go ahead and prepare your filling and your thumbprint. I use this old jar because it's just the right size. I marked it as a thumbprint. And my thumb would definitely get too hot. And I'm gonna fill it with chocolate chips and blueberry jam. That is gonna be delicious. All right, now we're gonna return it to the oven and bake for 8 more minutes. There's our timer. Oh my, these look so good. Let's put them on a cooling rack. Wow. I am so looking forward to eating these. You can tell we like chocolate and jam, but chocolate definitely goes faster. All right, enjoy. We need 2 cups of Bob's Red Mill 1-for-1 flour, the blue bag, 1.5 cups of sugar, half a cup of cocoa powder, 100% cocoa Dutch process, unsweetened cocoa powder, a 1/16 of a teaspoon of salt, 3/4 teaspoon xanthan gum, 2 teaspoons baking powder, 2 teaspoons baking soda, and we'll whisk the dry ingredients together. Next, we need 2 cups of soy milk, and this needs to be heated either in the microwave or on the stove. This will help activate the cocoa powder and give better flavor. Preheat your oven to 350. Now we have the steaming milk, 2 cups, and 1 cup of oil. I'm using avocado oil. We'll blend the liquids together just slightly before fully incorporating them with the dry ingredients. Now this is entirely optional, but I'm adding 1 cup of chocolate chips. Oil your cake tin. I'm using a springform pan because that is the 8-inch pan that I have. If you use a different size of pan, your baking time will be different. Now pour your batter into your prepared pan. Bake at 350 for 75 minutes. Alright, it's been 75 minutes, so I'm gonna go ahead and do my check. Wow, doesn't that look beautiful? Toothpick inserted in the center. Ah, it should come out clean. Look at that. Beautiful. So we're gonna take it out. Sweet, simple, and safe for everyone. Dessert just got an upgrade. Which one will you try first?